Hi everyone, it's been a crazy week and I just want to do a quick follow-up after my last video to give you some updates that you won't find in the mainstream media and to let you know of some strategy that could potentially save your portfolio as well based on everything I'm seeing and other experts are seeing as well. So first, as you probably heard, the central bank of the US, the Fed, has cut interest rate. What was surprising though is that the reason why they stopped QT, which was the money destruction instead of money printing, was because of the banking issues they are seeing as well. So that's not usually a good sign when they are forced to do something because there's a banking crisis. So right now they said that they will stop sucking out the liquidity from the system on December 1st, but that was before what happened on Friday. It's called a repo spike. Basically, I'll show you quickly. I have a chart. And as you can see, it was massive. Like there were a few spikes in the past few weeks, but on Friday it was $50 billion. And so that's because the central bank is also the lender of last resort. Banks usually lend between each other because at the end of the day, they need to balance the books. And so if nobody wants to lend them, they usually go to the central bank. And the central bank had to bail out one or more bank. We won't know for a while. I just want to show you that the last time this happened was actually in 2019. And so there were kind of similar issues that what we're seeing right now. Another thing that was interesting and not mentioned, so I found it here in the implementation notes, was that they might be doing some stealth money printing by buying bonds, buying treasury bills. So that's something that wasn't in the card that they haven't addressed. There were no questions during the press conference, but I thought this was interesting because, it's more liquidity for the bond market because maybe they are seeing more stress than they're saying. To keep in mind regarding the Fed also is that they surprised the market by saying that the December cut is not a done deal. And so right now, I think it's more of a political stance because the Federal Reserve and the US government don't get along. At some point, the real economy, not the AI economy that's propping up the stock market and the GDP, the real economy has been suffering since 2022. So I think it's just a matter of time before they have to cut, and they have to cut fast and do jumbo cuts or emergency meeting with cuts. So this is probably something we'll see in the next 3 to 6 months. Just something to keep on the radar because they might react to a stock market crash and then there might be a rebound because of the announcement. But then people realize that it's not a good sign when a bank has to do emergency cuts. Very quickly, also the Bank of Canada gave forward guidance that basically they think they're done, but they still have enough ramp if the economy deteriorates. They've been cheerleaders for the economy, saying and they being very optimistic, saying it's going to be okay and growth is going to take off. Even though I've been saying for the past few months that they've been completely wrong, like the economy is much weaker, and I've been proven right because the GDP over the last 6 months is actually negative. They're right now it's so close to being a technical recession. If September is minus 0.1% month over month or worse, I think they will just have to cut more. And like the Fed in the US, they will have probably to do emergency cuts as well. This is the GDP. You can see how it was negative. The one positive month was July, but it was completely offset by the next month in August. And here, even though it's preliminary 0.1, I'm thinking it's going to be negative. We'll see. Even if it's zero, it's actually going to be negative GDP. So one thing that's actually scary for Canada is that the real estate market might freeze up because right now there are some property rights being challenged by Aboriginal. And so right now some banks are refusing to lend or to renew mortgages for people who are located in the area where potentially they would lose the ownership of their own property. And so if this happens, they could completely freeze the real estate market and the banking sector and the whole economy because Canada's economy is really depending on the real estate market. So that's kind of scary. The other two central banks, the BOJ, the Bank of Japan, and the ECB for the Europe, they didn't cut, but they might be doing it in the future. But right now, no change. Very quickly, I wanted to talk about the USA-China tariffs. So right now, it seems to be doing well. Like they're progressing. We don't have a confirmation of a deal being implemented yet, but at least both sides seem to be lowering their escalation. From what I've seen today, there might be an announcement tonight. Trump is doing an interview with the 60 Minutes show. So that will bring some clarity to the market, but I don't think this is the end of the tariff up and downs. I think this will continue. So now let's go on to the earnings. So the Max Evans, I mentioned that 5 of them reported last week. It was mostly a mixed bag. I feel like the AI narrative is kind of dying down. So it's now all on NVIDIA, which is going to report its earning on November 19th. So that's in about 2-3 weeks. And so they might be the only reason why the market might hang it until then, but so might go sideways or a bit down. But if they don't deliver earnings that blow people away, I think that's going to be a clear end of the the AI bubble that started in 2022 when ChatGPT was released. And this is actually a signal that was just triggered last week, which the last time it triggered was in December of 2024. So just before the first dip, that was, before the big dip. And so just something to keep in mind that every time there was this signal, which you can see with the lines here, there's never been a positive return 1 month later. So best case scenario is just a small pullback like this. Worst case scenario, it's a big draw like this. We'll see how it is. All the signs are there that the stock market is exhausted. The AI bubble has been pushed to its limit. I think we have really seen the sign of the bursting of the bubble for the past 2 months. And so it's just a question of time until the whole thing collapses. NVIDIA and the Max 7s are such a big portion of the S&P that, when they fall, it's going to be massive. Actually, it's just another chart to show you the typical pattern that we see where we are close to the top and usually you have a big trend down after that. But what I wanted to show you was this. It was basically last week, one of the days, the worst day since 1990 in terms of the market being up, but only because of a few companies. Because here, most of the companies, so about 300 companies out of 500, were in the red that day. Yet the stock market closed in the green. That shows you how disconnected the AI economy of the Max 7 is versus the rest. So this is kind of scary. If you look at all the metrics, overvaluation is really at levels last seen during big tops, 1929, 1966, 1999. And as you can see, we also had a similar level, although a bit lower in 2021. And I really think that without the AI narrative, it would have gone down massively. So the AI thing with ChatGPT was really what saved, not the real economy, but the GDP, because there was so much money put into it. But I haven't seen a single business actually being able to show that they got real revenues from AI implementation. And NVIDIA doesn't count because they do vendor financing. If you're selling $20 bills for $10, it's not a good sign if you're making a lot of sales. So this is just the way I see it. So we'll see how it goes, but I think within the next 2-3 weeks, it's going to be very clear we have topped and we are starting that downtrend, or if there is one more leg up before the party is over, basically. You may have heard of Michael Burry, after 2 years being silent, came back to Twitter, changed his profile picture to the Tulip Mania painting, also said that in December he will probably say another message. And in his tweet, he said that basically the bubble, just like I mentioned, has been going on since 2022. And unfortunately, sometimes there's nothing we can do. It's been hard to see how the market has been disconnected since 2022 from the reality of most businesses not doing well. He said there's nothing you can do. The only way to move is not to play until finally you can do it. But if you keep betting on the market going down, you're going to lose all your money. So that's why you need to have a strategy where if you're right, you make a lot of money. If you're wrong, you don't lose a lot of money, basically. This is another signal that has been triggering, as you can see many times, near the top or at the top. And every time the signal triggers, there was either a small pullback or a big crash. And this triggered as well recently. So just another sign that everything is converging towards the ceiling being on the stock market. Right now, it means that if you take a risk of leaving your money in the stock market, you might get 1 or 2% upside, but there's like 50% to 80% downside. So the risk reward is not good right now. And this is another chart that kind of shows you since the 2022 peak how the real economy in yellow here has been going down while the stock market initially went down, and then ChatGPT was released and stock market went back up. And so this is the biggest disconnect that we have since at least 1981. As you can see, every time in the past, within a few months of the stock market going up and the economy going down or sideways, there was a big crash. So right now you can see how the disconnect is huge. And I think that's why Michael Burry took a break for the past 2 years, because he saw that there was nothing he could do, but maybe he sees something now that I see as well, that we are near the exhaustion point for the AI narrative, which is the only thing holding the stock market and the GDP together. So I wanted to show you some charts as well to support this, but first gold. So if you remember gold, I talked about it before the crash. I said that we're potentially going down to 3,500. So that's like the worst case scenario. My base case was that we would reach at least the yellow level here, which was the 50% retracement. So when you measure the move since the breakout, as you can see, the middle line is the 50%. And so let me put it right here. Okay. So you see we bounced on the 50% level, and now we're potentially going back up. So I think there's a good chance that gold will go sideways, but eventually do another big move like this. If it goes down, it could potentially go down to that 37.50 level here in orange. Basically, I don't think so. I think there's enough demand. I see more and more people being interested in getting gold because they see all the uncertainty in both the stock market, the economy, and the world with geopolitics and other things. So I think the gold story is not over. It was just a pullback needed after such a move in such a short time. Just to touch quickly on Bitcoin, we still don't have a direction yet. Feels like what happened before the big move during the March to September 2024. It went sideways and it felt like it was going nowhere and people were kind of giving up on it. That's what it feels right now. So I'm thinking within the next 2-3 weeks, we'll probably have a big move up or down. And it will be easier to know which trend is the main force pushing the market because right now it's really neutral and at equilibrium. So now back to the SP 500, I wanted to show you how all the signals are pointing toward the cap or the ceiling on the stock market. So this is just since 2020. As you can see, we had the first big move. Then the ceiling here was rejected 3 times at the trend line, so that's significant. Then we went back down on the same trend line several times, 2022, 2023. Then we started another big move up. As you can see, I added the yellow line, which was also a significant support during the pullbacks. It supported here the August 2024 pullback. It was about the Japan surprise move in the central bank that shook the market. In January 2025, went down on that line. Again, here before the big drop in February, there was some support on that line. And finally, it broke down. And as you can see, it never went back up. So that's the really important story is that when a line changes from support to resistance, usually you can see a retrace to the scene of the crime. So it goes back up close to that line. And then if it's rejected, usually it goes back down. I'm going to zoom in just to show you. But basically, that's how it ended the week. So during the week, as you can see, the candle wick, it went up as high as 69.20, but then it was rejected and ended the week both below the white line that has been resistance since 2020 and the yellow line that has been the other important resistance. So this is really bad. When you see a figure like this, I don't remember the exact term in terms of Japanese candles, but that's basically a really bad sign. And usually it's a top. So I think we potentially had the market top last week on Wednesday or Thursday during that 24 hours window that I told you about that was critical. So we'll see. And if you want to look even on the longer time frame, which is why it's kind of scary, it's like all the resistance are pointing towards a top for the market on the short term, the medium term, the long term. And this one is starting, at the 1929 crash. As you can see, it was a resistance for the 2000.com crash. And we just tagged it as well. And so right now, if we actually go down, we would go down to the support here. It would be at the lows of the 2000 crash or the 2008 crash. That's pretty bad. And that's 85% down from here. So that's why when I said there is more downside than upside, you see all the signs converging. And the reason why these analyses work is because charts show you how the human psychology works. So this is about fear and greed. So this is why it works so well, because this is just something that keeps happening. The only difference is that a crash now can happen much faster, because in 1929, you actually had to go physically to the stock market to buy or sell pieces of paper. Here, anyone can do it on their phone, and more people are invested in the stock market right now than in 1929. So this is why right now the risk is huge and the reward is minuscule. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do with this information, but I just want you to have it so that you will know what's potentially coming, why it's potentially coming, and what you can do about it. There are 5 easy strategies to implement, and I talked about it in my free masterclass. So it's only about 30 minutes, and you can get 5 strategies. You can even jump to the strategy that you prefer that can really protect your portfolio. It might work for you or not. It's not financial advice. It's just something most people are not aware of. So if you don't know about it, I encourage you to go check it out. The first one is about buying a call option. So this is to replace stock. So let's say you have 100 shares. Well, the 100 shares could be at risk. And so let's say they are worth $10,000. Potentially, you could lose the whole $10,000 if the stock market crashed 90%, or 9,000. If you replace it with $1,000 contract to control 100 shares, you basically get all the upside if the stock goes up, less what you paid for the contract. But if the market crash, you only lose that $1,000 instead of $9,000. The other option is to sell that contract, instead of buying it. So you sell it to someone else at a higher level than right now, which means that if the stock market goes nowhere, so sideways or down, well, you got some protection. So it's not as good as the next one, which is the full insurance, but it's like a partial insurance for your stocks. Buying a put option is like buying an insurance for your stocks. You can select the level, current level, or lower if you don't want to pay as much. And this could help you avoid to sell your shares, because the most important thing anytime in the stock market is to stay invested as much as you can, because if you get out of the market, it's really hard to get back in. And so those options contract can really help you to manage risk in a way that you don't have to exit the market at all. So by buying an insurance, you don't have to sell also, which is good if you don't want to pay taxes, because if you have your shares in an account that's not tax sheltered, you might have to pay taxes on capital gains. So depending on the situation, being able to buy an insurance on it makes more sense. Another insurance that also could work, which is something I've done also, is to buy doomsday insurance. This is the kind of insurance that's really cheap right now because the market is euphoric. You can buy like insurance that would pay a lot if the stock market drops in theory to like 25 or 50%, but really it kicks in much faster because panic sets in very quickly. And so this is the kind of insurance that can go up like 10,000% in a few weeks if you have a big crash. The last strategy is also to diversify. Too many people right now, I see they are all in on AI stocks. And so if there is a broad market crash of like 20 to 30%, and they might actually feel like a 60 to 80% crash for people who are just in the AI stocks. And so having some diversification in assets that are not correlated, like gold, silver, Bitcoin, other things, that might be something that could actually save your portfolio if something big happens. Things to think about right now before something big happens, because I have the feeling, just like I had the feeling in April, that we're about to see a big move. In April, I actually had some clients ask me, what do you think is going to happen next? I told them, based on what I'm seeing right now, I think it's either going to be plus 40% or minus 40%. So we got more than the 40% I forecasted. But basically, that shows you how I'm feeling the same way right now as I was feeling in April after the crash, that we're about to see a big move. So it's either going to go parabolic, which is one of the reasons why I say you probably want to stay invested, but with options to capture risk, or it's going to crash massively. And this is another reason why, it's good to have insurance or to put things in place to at least not lose most of the money, because if you lose most of your money, it might take decades for you to get it back. There have been many periods in histories where for 10, 20, 30 years, 35 years in the case of Japan, you haven't seen your money back, and it's not even counting for inflation. So with all this information, I hope that you'll be able to make good decisions. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send me a message or leave a comment below the video. And I'll put the video in the link in the description as well. And I'll put it at the end of the video to help you as well. So hope this helps, and until next time.